Hey, I'm Dr. Pilet, and today I want to talk about a topic that's near and dear to me. And I'm going to ask you to ask yourself a question. Is this my destiny, or am I in a dead end? Destiny or dead end? What comes to mind when you think about that? I can only tell you that when I work with you and I teach you, I ask you these simple questions. And that is, where are you going in life? Are you looking out the windshield of life as if there's prosperity and possibility, or are you stuck in the rearview mirror? You've heard me say you can't drive the car forward if you look in the rearview mirror. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, I don't know. I've got a bunch of guys here, all of different ages, all of different economics. But the truth is, everything you are today is rearward looking. Every experience that you had in life, whether it be 5 years old or 10 years old or 15 years old, has accumulated singly or in combination to get you to a belief system that develops your patterns of life. A belief system that develops your patterns of life. So when I ask you, who are you today? I'm going to tell you that every emotion you have inside of you is rearward looking. I hear people that say, I want to jump out of an airplane. How would they know what that's like? I'm not jumping. We have this vision of what I want, but then when we get to the window, the door turns out to be a big obstacle. I'm not doing it. I hear people every day that say, I want to get a degree. I want to be somebody more than I am, a lawyer, 1 degree in chemistry, 1 degree in biology. And yet when I ask them, what is it that you've said about yourself as tasks to get this done? I will tell you they are doing wishful thinking, and they truly have not set goals. That's the big difference. Goals are things you set about for yourself because you have a task list, a way to get there. Wishful thinking, it's that mirage. You know what's interesting about a mirage? You're in the desert. It's hot. All that heat that's coming up, that's stress. That's stress. Sometimes stress makes us crazy. We're so miserable where we are. We think we want to be somebody else, someplace else, and it don't exist. We get crazy. We're not possible. It's not possible to inventory where we are because of all this stress that tends to bring about some dysfunctional perception of the world around us. You know, years and years ago, this is World War II, there was an airplane called Lady Be Good. Lady Be Good had overflown its airport. Well, they didn't have inertial navigation like they do today. You know, there was a dust storm at this particular airport. There were claims that they heard the airplane fly over. Not until 30 years later, after World War II, when I was a kid, did they find that airplane. They found it in the middle of the desert. I believe it was Tunisia. And what had happened was they were so convinced they were heading in the right direction, they kept flying. And they flew further and further and further into the middle of the desert. And then, after the plane crashed, somebody in the group had said, I know we're close, let's walk that way. And believe it or not, they found all the bodies of these airmen that were under the illusion that they knew where they were and they knew where they were going. The illusion that you know where you are and you know where you're going. And think about where I started this. That idea about you are the accumulation of all those events that have brought you to where you are today. Some very young, happened when you're a young child. Remember, a child has no control of the environment. You know, we hear, we see, but that environment is controlled by our parents, or those people that take care of us. Now, later in life, as we become more capable of taking control of our life, high school, graduating from high school, sometimes we don't realize that some of those events in school, some of those events through community, through family, they do continue to imprint us into a course of action, and that course of action is, in fact, a dead end. You know, so I often ask guys like you that come to hear me speak, ask yourself the question, are you in a rut? Are you in a rut? A rut is a small group, like a record or an LP, and it's on autoplay. You don't get out to get really easy. But some of us have gotten into such a deep rut, that there's nowhere to go. Deep rut would be, my finances are so terrible, I can't afford to go. I haven't done maintenance on my car in so long, it don't run. I don't have transportation. I got a drinking problem. We started off just having fun with friends a few months ago, maybe a few years ago. And now, because nobody understands me, I've lost my job. Reflectively, when I look in the mirror, I don't see me having a drinking problem. I see that I'm poorly understood. I just want to enjoy life. And because I'm poorly understood, when I ask you, what do you want to do? The mirage, all that stress. Oh, I just want to get my driver's license back. I just want to get a job better than where I am. See, we're limited from the true idea of that. Each of you in this room has a destiny. Each of you in this room have a destiny. Now, you might have heard from a previous lecture that I did that I'm a big believer in optimism. And you'll hear me say optimism is a force multiplier. Yes, it's true. Some of you by design will have better opportunities in life than others of us because you're well connected, because you know somebody, because your family had wealth. That's true. And for some of you, you may not go in far in life as others because you just didn't understand these were potentials and opportunities that you did not take. But then there's others of us that just don't have much to work with, and we look for and canvass any opportunity to move ahead. As you sit here in this room with 20, 25 people, you start to look around you, and every person in this room has some knowledge, some information, some contact that could better you. All of us do. Do we take opportunities for that to happen? See, I'm going to get back to optimism. Optimism is a force multiplier. Optimism doesn't guarantee success, but pessimism guarantees failure. If you allow yourself to be negative, if you allow yourself to look at anything out the windshield of life as something that's going to break your windshield or break you, nope, not going to get there. You're going to dilute yourself, diffuse yourself, lose your energy, because sometimes the best thing to be done is not the thing you do the best. Holy crap. Sometimes the best thing that needs to be done is not the thing you do the best. But that thing you do the best is back to where I started. What if you don't know? What if the fact is that I'm telling you the truth? You are who you've been taught to be, but you haven't made the decision yet to be who you want to be. Oh, my Lord. I'm going to give you a couple of stories, both of them sort of reflective to help you understand the story, if you will. And I never tell you anything that's not true. I get a little bothered when I hear, public speakers that are motivational, and they talk about how they flew in on their helicopter and saw the traffic jam and said, my God, I'm living my dream because these people are all coming to see me. And I'm telling you, I'm living my dream when I have enough money to pay my rent, utilities, and work on those things that are important to me, like a vacation for my kids. I'm living my dream. If I could just have that little bit of prosperity, I don't need a helicopter to be flying over the city looking at all these people saying, oh, we can't wait to hear you. But the idea that I have to become who I've decided to be. When I was a teenager, which was a long time ago, I was at my dad's office when a guy knocked on the door, similar to the door here. And the door was truly just in a hallway of one of these small office buildings where, nobody was selling goods and services. It was insurance companies and management companies. Knocked on the door, and I met the guy. His name was Jeff. About 3 weeks later, I'm at University of New Orleans. I'm 18, he's 18, and I just see him in the student union, and I befriend him. Hey, did you get a job? And by the way, that was bizarre. Just walking up in the door. What's that about? Hey, unbelievable story. Him and his two brothers were put up for adoption because mom and dad both had substance problems. They were addicts. And because they were too old, none of them got adopted. He got out, and that was it. The Greyhound bus that dropped him off at the designated place that he had chosen. From that point on, with no family, it was all up to him. Interesting. Perception. Who you decided to be. He had a lot of time to think at 18 in a sheltered environment. When I get out of here, who have I decided to be? He also had a lot of time to look back reflectively at those things in his life that had impacted him in ways that, in fact, defined who he was. Remember? Parents, addicts. I remember Jeff because I got to know him really well. Went to his apartment. Couldn't believe the way he lived because, you know what? It was all good. He had a vision. Made it through college. Very successful businessman today. But here's the important thing. I would try to say, let's go to a fraternity party. I would say, let's try to go to a Christmas party or a New Year party, anything like that. And he was so against even being in the presence of alcohol that he wouldn't go. Now I look back kind of humorously that I was always pushing him to do something like this, but then I didn't realize he had excluded the potential of a negative event because he was imprinted with the impact of alcohol in his life in the destructive way that it affected his mom and his dad. Now that's an easy story, but ultimately the positive value system that he developed to drive him forward was reflective of him making a decision to stay away from things that put him at risk. Notice it said positive value system. Part of what I'm trying to get you today is I ask you, have you made the decision? Are you in a rut? You want to change that rut? You want to get out of that rut? You want to move to a different rut? A better place? You start off by, how did I get here? What are those events that happened in my life, those precipitating events that define who I am today? You start there. I'm going to give you another story, though, because Jeff is still doing very well today, and I'm telling you what, I'm proud to have met him. But there's another guy, his name was Eddie, also in that same era of my life. And I just never forget how, although he was good in school and did pretty well, he would often tell me about how his workaholic dad was never home. Mardi Gras, holidays, He would talk with a certain emptiness about, I ain't going to do this to my kids. I'm not going to do this. He was the adult child. You know what that means? Of the children in the household, he was the oldest one, and he was the surrogate to care for the other kids when dad and mom were too busy to be there. Now, later, as I watched him finish his potential and move forward in very positive ways, I will tell you his decision never to be that involved in the business commercial world, to always live an austere lifestyle, was directly reflected of his experience as a child. Negative experiences as a child. Negative experiences for Jeff. Negative experiences for Ed. But guess what? I never saw him make any effort to reach his full potential because I made enough, I can pay the bills, I'm more invested in the happiness of the household, the happiness of the family, and I'm going to disassociate myself from all this stuff that has to do with making lots of money, position, and status. Well, I think he misperceived a negative event. I think what he missed out on was, how do I achieve success financially? How do I find success being a father? How do I find success being involved in the community in balance? His family was out of balance. And the interesting question he should be asking himself is, how do I get balance in my life? But at the same time, how do I find within myself that God-given thing that I believe each one of you in this room has, which is the achievement of your destiny? I don't mean to be cosmic. I'm sorry, but I'm going to tell you, I've never met a man yet or a woman yet that didn't have some special calling that they really needed to look into because they have a mission. But sometimes the mirage of life, the stress, the relationships that are dysfunctional, the people in our lives that cloud their way into our life, they fog our windshield. When I ask you, are you looking out your windshield? Have you picked a path? Now, I love metaphors because in a sense they help us get a feeling from a sense of words that we have to process within ourselves and find true meaning. But I've said this before, and you've heard me say this, and I'll say it again now. You can live in hell for a month if you know why, but you won't make it a day unless there's a reason. Life gets tough, especially when you make a decision. I only look back at Carrie and I, we both walked away from our paid careers, and we both made a decision to go back to school very late in life, 46. And I can tell you that there was never a time that it was anything but pure joy to become a college student in my late 40s. And I can also tell you that the house we lived in belonged to someone else, and they let us be there because they knew us and liked us. This particular person was a pilot and said, as long as you watch things while I'm gone, you can live here for free. And I can also tell you that the room we lived in, Bonnie gave us a futon. And the reason it was a good futon, it was hand-stitched from Japan. It was really neat. And we slept on a floor for 2 years in that little room. Commuted to Florida State. Even my dad said, what are you doing? I had friends that said, what are you doing? Because Carrie has always been a registered nurse. She could always find a job. But the choice to go back to school, was driven by my calling to do this kind of work, by my calling that when I sat in that chair as you did, to find myself painfully caught up in recollections of an emotional relationship that went sour, I had to change myself. I had to find a new direction. Now, what's interesting about that story about us sleeping on the floor is our house was robbed. And I still think it's hilarious because they broke through the patio door, completely shattered the patio door, ransacked the house, and guess what they stole? There was nothing. The refrigerator didn't have any food in it, and the drawers in the kitchen had socks and underwear. Mainly because, both of us were on campus all the time. We just, ate on the run. Interesting. There was nothing to steal. But you can live in hell for a long time when you feel like there's some destiny that you're out after. When you feel like the real personality that you have, the real person you are, yeah, it gives you drive, it gives you energy, it gives you motivation. So I'm going to go back to that idea of you got to quit driving the car by looking in the rearview mirror. To get out the rut, you got to have a design. You got to have a goal. You got to stop wishful thinking. You got to have goals that are step fashion to the achievement of some place you want to be. That windshield, for some of us, we can see ahead 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. Some of us look out the windshield and it's so foggy we can't see 100 yards ahead. And the fog that's there is the complexity of life. It's the low-paying job that doesn't give you enough money to make choices. It's the children that you have young in life because, mistakes happen. A plus B equal AB. I got children. I got responsibilities. Pick them up, drop them off. Holiday season. I'm not free to go out with my friends. I'm not free to do anything I want. I got family. And the complexity of your life puts a certain amount of what I call fog into your windshield. But as you move forward and make that decision to get out of this rut, you have to make that decision directly related to actions. What actions am I taking to begin this path? Now, for some of you guys, it's a tough decision on where to start. But I'll tell you, when you start to ask the question, what if? When you begin to ask that question, what if? Not what for. What for locks you in. It locks you into those people that go nowhere. And when you say what if, and you look out that windshield, and you see uncertainty, you got work to do. If there's one thing in life you should never have, it's uncertainty. And if you don't have anxiety, shame on you. You know what anxiety is? Your internalized energy that I got to get moving. Your internal energy that says complacency ain't working for me. I look in the mirror and what do I see? What do you see? Do you see who you've been taught to be? Or do you see who you really are? See, those positive values that move you in a forward direction are directly related to how you see yourself in your future. And the belief system that if you truly have something that you're designed to be here for, it's going to happen, because I completely believe there is dimension outside the one we live in that affects the one we live in. I don't think it was a mistake that I met Jeff. I don't think it was a mistake that all of what happened to him later in life was because he looked back and saw that this was not his destiny. And I think he used that precipitative event to look forward to say, what is my value system as I move into the future? What is my value system that's going to get me to a better place? And instead of looking in the rearview mirror about where he came from, he said, how do I move forward? And set a path. Now, each of us have to set a path, and we all start with that path. And you do that path by selectively looking at how you spend your time. You've seen me do that pie chart exercise where you look at how do I spend my time for a given week? I use 120 hours for the week. Then I ask you to put what's important to you. My wife, my kids, my job, my career. Because that's what we're talking about. Is this your career or is this a job? And you know what the difference is, right? A job is what you do for money, and a career is what you do when it's your passion, your identity. It's interesting. I have a friend that lives down in Fort Lauderdale, and he works at his job so he can have enough money to live his passion. He's a musician. Isn't that interesting? Can you live in hell for a month if you know why, but you won't make it a day? I have friends that have miserable jobs, horrible jobs, but it gives them the investment. It gives them the freedom to invest in those step fashion ideas to get me towards a goal. And what is that goal for each of you? You have to determine that. You have to ask the question, what if? Because I'll be honest with you. I've seen it in this classroom as I've worked to project this stuff. When you guys come here to talk to me or listen to me, you hear two things. You hear knowledge and you hear wisdom. A lot of times I give you knowledge. Knowledge is an accumulation of facts and things that I've accumulated in time and through my own personal self-study. But wisdom is how I use that knowledge to some greater end. Wisdom is often taught to you by the mistakes you make. Every time you really screwed up, you've gotten one more piece of wisdom. You're not a failure. You just fine-tuned your destiny. You've just learned one more thing that you've got to do. And so part of this idea today, as you look forward and you just make that decision, am I actually going to work on my destiny? Or am I okay because this is a dead end? Listen to everything I've said today. Try to apply it to yourself. It really does work, and it's worked for me. Those people that robbed my house, there was nothing to steal. I had let go of all material possessions so that I could direct myself to do the thing I wanted to do, which is to be able to do and to learn, to be open to prosperity. And to this day, I still meditate. And to this day, I'm always getting myself to that place where the mirage is not there. I may be in the desert, but I ain't lost. See, that's the key. It may be a tough time. I ain't lost. I know exactly where I am. I have the supplies I need, and I'm going to make it to the distant end. And that's what you do when you make that decision. Do me a favor. I'm going to have another video up there shortly on goal setting. That's the one I'd like you to hear next, if you will. I hope you enjoyed this topic. I'm Dr. Pilet.